probably need ATP to, let's say, make official this status of Battles as an influence band. But I think that from the beginning, probably you started as a so-called supergroup and you had a kind of heritage from your previous band. But now I think that Battles have their own, let's say, status. So have you had any problems at the beginning with managing with your previous bands? And do you agree that now it's something that people and audience perceived as different, as something that has its own, let's say, life?
Yeah, music is like, it's funny, when we started we were known as mostly the guy from
Don
Caballero and Stormy Stress guy, and then the guy from Fellet, and those two. And to me that was unattractive to be thought of as like a combination of two bands from like your past. I don't know, and the goal was to not be a supergroup, to not be this thing that was about membership, because usually bands like that stink, I think. You know, if you're really just about a celebration of your past accomplishments, then it's sort of pointless to keep going. It's sort of lazy or something. So I wanted us to be known for what we were doing as, in this band, and I think we got to that point, luckily.
So the publishing of Lost Drop was a bit hard work for a few reasons. The change of the lineup and the fact that you had been touring a lot and you weren't into a studio for a long time, and maybe also all the expectations that audience had. So which was the hardest part of publishing the record, and the hardest part first?
I think the hardest part was finding a way to, because bands often start with an obscure sound, and I think our EP is going to have that sort of quality. And just because I don't think we had formulated ourselves beyond this abstract stage, and then when we made Mirrored, it became a bit more clear what we were trying to do, and I think that made our sound a little more accessible. And then. So I think our audience grew with that. So the challenge was to not just become more accessible on our next record, because a lot of times you have to make a trade-off and you become more boring.
So no pressure on you while doing the record?
Yeah, well, I think we knew that there were expectations to make a certain kind of record from us, and we tried to not pay attention to the expectations too much and just connect to music that we liked, in a way sort of shutting out the outside world and just spending time by ourselves. And we kind of locked ourselves up in a recording studio
for a long time.
For a long time, yeah.
You said that it was too long time because you didn't have a deadline, so.
Yeah, and it kind of went on and on, yeah, because we kind of wanted to keep going until we were happy. But then there is the real world outside, which is sort of saying,
But what about Warp? Didn't they give you a deadline? You could stay in the studio all the time?
They were nice to us. They were friendly, and meaning they would sometimes.
Trusted.
I think they would roll their eyes sometimes, like, geez, but they never gave us a hard time about it. They never said, this is taking too long, this is ridiculous, or anything like that. And they kept supporting us through the whole thing.
I thought that Mirrored was a kind of danceable record, but an unconventional danceable record. What about Lost Drop?
I think it is danceable. We've always been a pretty big rhythm band.
Yeah.
Some heavy rhythm. So the dance is always going to be there. And I still actually think that we're a rock band first, before we're, producers of dance music or anything like that. And I think that we're influenced by some of the same things that influence, dance music producer, DJ people. Just things like repetition and patterns. And I think the sources for us come from the same places that it comes from, you know, your typical dance music DJ. But, you know, I think we take that source and we go over here with it, and they go over here, but it still is in this realm where you can obviously jam.
So let's talk about the collaboration, Gary Numan, Kazuma. So how did you manage with all the collaboration you put on your record, and how did you meet them and ask them to work, and how was the work organized?
We made, I think we just sort of asked ourselves, it was sort of a blank slate. All of a sudden we could say, what kinds of singers would we imagine? You know, what kinds of singers would actually surprise us in a way? For example, you know, we thought like maybe a woman singer would be interesting because we're kind of a guy band in a way.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of interesting to like say, let's like, you know, work with a female singer, like a sensitive thing.
Very feminine.
Yeah, feminine, and like take you know, like what would that make our song be? And so that was an interesting idea, and we you know, and then we narrowed it down to like, let's ask Kazu. You know, Gary Numan was something
completely, which can sound completely different from your world, but it fits.
Yeah, I think that song actually sounds like a real battle song, and it also sounds like a real Gary Numan song.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting thing that they both coexist. I like that. And that was sort of just a case of like, wow, like, let's go ask like a pop star from our youth that we used to, when we were kids, that we used to really like.
I didn't ask you about live. I saw that for the featurings, the song where you host other people playing live, you just put some videos. So are you going to manage in a different way in the future, as you don't have a proper singer till now?
Yeah, I think singing for battles has always been a thing that we've dealt with in unusual ways, whether it was electronically treated vocals or now with these guest singers. So it's always been something we have to work through. It's been like our greatest challenge.
So is there anything that you are missing from the beginning?
I used to really just play guitar, and I used to even play shows where I would take an amplifier, I would put it on the stage, and I would plug my guitar straight into the amplifier. It was like a guitar, one cable, and an amplifier. And it was so simple, and you just play music. It was so easy. And now battles, I have so much junk and so much stuff.
Yes.
And soundcheck is like an hour and a half of like connecting
I read
everything.
that you're putting all the videos while playing live. That is your job.
Yeah. So controlling the audio and the video, and I don't know, it's just like such a production that I mean, you know, it's interesting. It's a lot of new stuff to play with, and that's kind of cool. And I think that's probably how I've gotten to this place, just experimenting with new things all the time. But in some ways, I do look back at that simple time and you could just play guitar and how nice that was.